In the year 101 AD, the most powerful army in history crossed the Danube River. Rome had conquered Carthage, humiliated Greece, and buried Egypt. As the legions marched over the water, they operated with the absolute certainty that no force on earth could stop them. For the Roman commanders, this was meant to be a routine administrative expansion. They believed their military logic was an unstoppable law of nature, and the frontier tribes were simply waiting to be processed. For 5 centuries, the Roman military built its combat strategy around one piece of equipment, the scutum shield. As we can see here, the scutum was a flat rectangular wall. It was constructed from 3 layers of laminated wood, covered in thick leather, and reinforced with a heavy iron boss right in the center. Weighing in at 5 to 10 kilograms, it easily absorbed spears, swords, arrows, and rocks thrown from high walls. Entire generations of legionaries lived and died behind that wood. Rome's military doctrine relied on the assumption that as long as they held the line, this barrier could not be breached. But waiting for them across the river was a Dacian weapon designed to exploit the Roman shield's single blind spot, the falx. This diagram breaks down the physics of the strike. The Roman shield is a straight vertical line, perfect for blocking forward stabs. But the falx featured a severe descending curve. It didn't strike the front of the wood, it hooked directly over the top edge, using the shield's own geometry as a guide to find the soldier's arm. When the first veteran units returned from the front, Roman military doctors saw wounds they had no record for, clean, deep shears that bypassed the armor entirely. For the first time in 5 centuries, reports of collective panic began reaching the Roman command. The threat was severe enough that Rome halted operations to mass-produce an entirely new armor component, the manica. It was an articulated sleeve of overlapping iron plates, designed to turn the falx's hook away from the soldier's sword arm. We can verify this emergency pivot by looking at Trajan's Column, the massive stone monument erected in Rome to document the Dacian Wars. Looking closely at these relief carvings, we see the moment the gear changed. Soldiers in earlier scenes lack extra plating, but as the campaign continues, troops in the front lines, those facing the falx directly, suddenly have their right arms fully encased in metal. No other enemy in 500 years of history had forced the Roman army to redesign its standard equipment during an active war. By 102 AD, Rome declared victory. They forced the Dacian king Decebalus to accept terms designed to be humiliating. He was ordered to surrender his weapons, demolish his fortresses, and submit to Roman authority. The harshest condition required Decebalus to host elite Roman military engineers to oversee his compliance within his own territory. Decebalus signed the treaty in public with total formality. While Rome recorded this as a final surrender, historians note that the king offered no resistance to the arrival of the Roman technicians. The Roman engineers sent to monitor Dacia understood exactly how to calculate angles to deflect projectiles, build advanced hydraulic systems, and optimize sightlines for mountain fortresses. Decebalus provided these engineers with lodging and translators, allowing them to work with total freedom. While they inspected his fortresses, his own architects were secretly observing them, learning the mathematics of Roman defense. By imposing this peace condition, Rome inadvertently handed their enemy the blueprints for modern warfare. Over the next 3 years, hidden in the mountains, Decebalus initiated a massive construction project, using his own hidden gold and the new engineering principles. These ruins at Sarmizegetusa Regia show the result. The Dacians integrated Roman hydraulic technology into the mountain rock, building deep water storage and grain depots designed to survive a multi-year siege. Decebalus used the period of Roman peace to build a vastly upgraded fortress, turning his capital into an unassailable mountain stronghold. In 105 AD, Decebalus launched a deliberate strike against the Roman provinces of Moesia and Pannonia. He timed the attack to coincide with Emperor Trajan's focus on administrative matters in Rome, striking at the administrative core of the Danube frontier. This wasn't an impulsive raid. It was a clear signal that the previous treaty had merely served as a 3-year window for Dacia to rearm. Trajan responded with a force of 150,000 soldiers and 12 auxiliary cavalry units. This was the largest army Rome had ever sent to a single campaign, accompanied by Apollodorus of Damascus, the empire's greatest architect. This time, Trajan's objective was to ensure the possibility of a third war could never exist. He moved to systematically dismantle the Dacian state and erase its footprint from the map. When the legions reached the Dacian capital, they didn't waste lives assaulting the walls. They established permanent camps at the 4 cardinal points, cut the external aqueducts, and began a methodical blockade. Roman engineers had supervised the construction of these very fortifications 3 years earlier. They returned to the walls with a ledger of every grain silo's capacity and every well's depth, knowing exactly how long the defense could last. There was no mystery to the outcome. The siege was a cold mathematical equation, ticking down toward a guaranteed Roman solution. When the mathematical limit arrived, Decebalus called his remaining nobles together. He didn't rally them for a final stand. He gave instructions on what to burn, what to hide, and what to preserve for future generations. When the meeting concluded, Decebalus slipped out of the fortress and headed east into the mountains alone, denying Rome the satisfaction of a final battle. Trajan sent an elite cavalry detachment to track the king through the mountains. They finally cornered him in a remote clearing. As the Roman soldiers approached, Decebalus offered no negotiations. He drew his own curved sword with the same calm he had shown while signing the peace treaty years before. With a single, unflinching motion, he took his own life. Decebalus ensured that even in death, he would never be paraded through the streets of Rome in chains. A Roman general later recorded that the hardened cavalrymen, veterans of wars in Britannia and Arabia, stood frozen in the clearing. They recognized a level of resolve for which the Roman military vocabulary had no name. Back in the capital, Emperor Trajan declared 123 days of festivals, projecting a sterile narrative of absolute triumph to the people of Rome. Rome took the territory and the Dacian gold, but Trajan failed to secure the total victory he sought because he could not break the king's spirit.